Welcome to my podcast, Life with Denise, sharing inspiring conversations and heartfelt wisdom. Follow online at denisepettit.com, YouTube at Denise Pettit, and Instagram at Denise Pettit. When was the last time you went to bed and thought, yeah, I won that one? Not I survived it, not I got through it, but you won it. Like you showed up, you did the thing, and the day didn't beat you, but you beat the day. If you can't remember the last time, or if you did have a day like that, stick around. That's exactly what we're talking about today. I'm Denise, and this is Life with Denise. Today's topic is 3 words that get thrown around a lot in locker rooms and LinkedIn posts and motivational posters, and those 3 words are win the day. Win the day. And I get it. It can sound like a slogan on a coffee mug, but underneath the cliche, there's actually a really solid piece of psychology and strategy. So today, we're going to unpack where the idea actually comes from, why it works, and most importantly, how you actually do it starting tomorrow morning. The phrase gets credited to a lot of people. The Alabama football coach Nick Saban made it famous with his players. But the idea underneath it is way older than football. It's really a rebellion against a very specific kind of anxiety. And that is the anxiety of the big picture. Think about the last time you had a huge goal. Maybe you were trying to lose 40 pounds. Maybe you were going to build a new business or write a book. Or maybe you were saving for that dream house. The size of that goal is exactly what made it paralyzing, right? You'd sit there thinking about the mountain, and that mountain would just stare back at you, and you just wouldn't move. Well, when the day just flips that. It says, stop looking at the mountain and look at just the next step. Your only job today is not to become a millionaire or finish a marathon or transform your entire life. Your only job today is to win today. That's it. Just today. And here's the psychological trick. When you shrink your focus down to 24 hours, your brain stops treating that goal like a threat. Big, vague, distant goals trigger avoidance. Small, concrete, immediate goals trigger action. That's not motivation, by the way. That's just how attention works. You know, a lot of people here win the day, and then they turn it into a productivity Olympics. They wake up at 4:30 in the morning, they do a cold plunge, run on a 10-mile run, read 40 pages of a book, and 6 items crossed off a list. And if you don't do all that, well, they just feel like you've lost. Well, that's not winning the day. That's just moving the mountain closer and giving it a new name. Winning the day isn't about doing the most. It's about doing the right thing on purpose instead of drifting through the 24 hours that you were given. There's a difference between a full day and a one day. You can have an incredibly full day, back-to-back meetings, errands, replying to 100 messages, and still feel like you've lost the day because none of it moved you anywhere. And on the contrary, you can have a quiet day where you did just 3 things and you go to bed feeling like a champion because those 3 things actually mattered. So before we get into the how, I want to remind you, winning the day is about intention, not volume. I want to give you something concrete. Over the years, coaches, psychologists, high performers, from athletes to CEOs to soldiers, Keep circling back to the same 3 questions in some form or another, and they define whether a day was won by these 3 questions. So let's talk about those 3 questions. Question 1, did I do the hard thing first? This is sometimes called eating the frog, and I'm sure you've heard that tossed around somewhere. But the idea is often attributed to Mark Twain. And the idea is this: if the first thing you do each morning is eat a live frog, nothing worse is going to happen to you the rest of the day. In other words, do the thing you're avoiding first while your willpower is the freshest. Most people do the opposite. They warm up with easy, low-stake tasks, email, scrolling, tidying up the house. And by the time they get to the hard thing, they're just out of energy. They're out of gas. Winning the day just means flipping that order. Question 2, did I control what I could control? This one comes straight out of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus, 2,000 years ago, basically invented this idea. It says you don't control the traffic, you don't control the weather, you don't control your coworker's mood, whether the client says yes, but you control your effort, your attitude, your preparation, and your response. A one day isn't a day where everything goes right. It's a day where you showed up right, regardless of what came at you. Question 3 says, did I move one thing forward that actually matters to me? Not 10 things, just one thing. This is the difference between being busy and being effective. At the end of the day, can you point to one thing? Maybe a rep at the gym, a paragraph written, a hard conversation that you had to have, maybe $1 saved. Did these things push you closer to the person you're trying to become? If yes, then you won. If everything you did today could be erased and your future self wouldn't even notice, well, that's the day that got away from you. 3 questions. Hard thing first, control what's controllable, move one real thing forward. That's the whole framework. The night before is where the day gets won. And here's something that a lot of people miss. You didn't win the day during the day. You win it the night before. Athletes know this instinctively. You don't decide to have a great game while you're standing on the field. The great game was decided the night before, in the prep, in the sleep, and knowing exactly what you're walking into. So a huge part of winning the day is actually a 5-minute ritual the night before. And that ritual says, what is one hard thing I need to do first tomorrow? You write it down. One sentence, not a to-do list of 17 things, just one sentence that names the frog you're going to eat in the morning. Because here's the trap. If you wait until the morning to decide what matters, your brain's going to default to whatever is the loudest and the easiest, which usually ends up being your inbox. Decide the night before, and you walk into the day with a target already picked out. Now, I have to say, you're not going to win every day. Some days, life just wins. You're going to get sick, your kids will get sick, your project falls apart, maybe you sleep only 4 hours. Everything's on fire. That's not a moral failure. That's just living life. The real skill, the thing that separates people who just sustain this for years versus people who quit after 2 weeks, is what you do the day after you have a lost day. Because here's the trap that gets people. They lose one day and they feel like a failure. And then they let that feeling bleed into the next day and the next until a whole week is gone. One day lost becomes a lost month. Not because the first day was so damaging, but because what they told themselves about it. The whole point of win the day as a philosophy is that every single day is a completely fresh scoreboard. Yesterday doesn't get a vote today. You lost yesterday? Fine. That has zero bearing on whether you win the day today. That's not a pep talk. That's actually the mechanism that makes this whole approach work. It's not about a streak, it's about today. Think about anyone that you've ever admired for their consistency. Maybe a grandparent who worked the same job for 40 years. Maybe an athlete who trained through injuries. A parent who showed up for their kids no matter what. None of them were thinking about 40 years while they were doing it. They were thinking about that moment and that day. Just get through that day well. Then the next day, and so on. 40 years is genuinely too heavy a thing to carry into a single morning. But one day you can carry. One day you can win. And the math of it is this. If you actually string together enough of those single days, one together, you look up one day and realize you've built 40 years. You've written the book, you've built the body, you've built the business, but you never had to think about any of that while you were in it. You just had to win the day that you were standing in. God's mercies are new every morning to begin new dreams, new goals, and to remember tonight before you go to sleep, do the ritual. One sentence. What's the hard thing that you're going to do first tomorrow? And tomorrow, do that thing first. Control what you can control and let the rest go. And find one thing, just one thing, that moves you toward who you're actually trying to become. Do that. And when your head hits the pillow tomorrow night, you'll be able to say it, not, I got through it. Instead, I won that one. I say it this way, pre-decide, so you don't have to waste time or energy when you're in the middle. You already know what to do. This is Life with Denise. I'm Denise, and now it's time to go and win the day. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Life with Denise, sharing inspiring conversations and heartfelt wisdom. Follow online at denisepettit.com, YouTube at Denise Pettit, Instagram at Denise Pettit. See you next time.